right, guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of the CX Chronicles podcast. I'm super excited, guys. Today we have Lynn Schlesinger, who is the CXO at Forbes. So this is a pretty big deal. I'm pumped to have you. Lynn, say hi to the CX Nation.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for having me here today.
100%. I was pumped to get you in here. I was obviously everybody, not just at this event, but anybody that's doing anything in the world of business, obviously knows what Forbes is. So I was pretty excited when I found out that Lynn was going to be joining us and joining the CX Chronicles podcast. But Lynn, why don't we start off today's episode like we start off all of our shows? I'd love to just hear about, before we get into Forbes and all the awesome things that you guys are doing at your team and in the business, I want to hear about you. I want to hear about the stepping stones question. Spend just a few minutes kind of setting the stage for the CX Nation around, like, number one, how did you get into this space as the CXO of Forbes? And how did you what were some of the stepping stones that started your customer-focused business leader journey?
All right. Well, my business journey really started as an intern at Business Week magazine while I was at NYU. And we launched a live events business, not very different from this.
Very cool.
And I was there for 11 years and then got into financial services marketing and then landed in the technology marketing space. So my journey to customer experience has really been through the marketing field.
Okay.
And at Forbes, I joined Forbes to create a modern marketing department in our 100-plus-year-old business. I've been there about 5.5 years now. And that journey at Forbes brought me to being the chief marketing officer for the media business. And then I was tapped to take that experience and all the good work that we did and really try and bring it across all of Forbes.
Very cool.
Looking at focusing on the consumer businesses now while still helping those folks on the marketing team be the best marketers they can, while I'm trying to stitch together the customer experience across both our B2B and our B2C audiences.
Very
because
cool.
In most cases, our advertisers are our subscribers or our advertisers are our event attendees. And we want to make sure at every engagement with Forbes, we're delivering on the high expectations people have for us.
I love that. That's amazing. So number one, it's funny. I say this all the time on the show, Lynn, but like, it's almost like things that traditional chief marketing officers would be doing. It's starting to very much come into this chief experience or chief customer or chief journey manager, whatever the different terms are, the different companies are calling it. But it's because of what you just said, where like someone, especially at a business the size of Forbes or the business with the scale that Forbes has, someone's got to be thinking about almost like the entire journey from like where somebody ever even knows what Forbes is, although there's probably not too many of us.
There's a few, believe me. I encounter them very infrequently.
Lynn's still trying to find them, guys. She's still trying to find those people. But you know what I mean? Like just from like awareness, consideration, just to even get someone to the point of where you can have an opportunity to convert them or to onboard them into the media, the space, and the services that you guys provide. That stuff's super hard. And I just think that like it's funny. I think now you're starting to see more leaders kind of understanding, wait a minute, someone's got to be literally traversing all of this stuff, connecting the dots, stitching things together. And then when I heard some of the work that you did as a CMO, like there's another part of delivering assets and information and general just knowledge to an entire business to be able to kind of tell the right type of story or same type of marching word, whatever you want to call it. But like, I think it's so cool that that's some of the work that you're getting to do every day.
I'm blessed to be doing it. I really am. And like I said, I've been here at Forbes for 5.5 years, and each year is really something new and different. We are a 100-plus-year-old media brand, but we are continuously evolving, and we are continuously looking to do new things in service of our audiences. You had asked about how we bring the customer voice into it. We listen to our advertisers. We are there to support them in growing their businesses. That is the genesis of Forbes. The consumer side of the business, we are there to deliver incredible content, whether it be written content in the print magazine, digital content on Forbes.com, live content at Forbes live events, Instagram stories, LinkedIn lives, all of those places. We are bringing information, resources, and hopefully inspiration to the audiences and meeting them wherever they might be.
Inspiration for sure, because I can promise you, and I'm glad that you just said that, because I remember, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago before I got into doing any of this stuff, and I was still like a CX practitioner. Actually, in New York City, I spent about 10 years in New York City, so I was also I was on 83rd and 2nd, so I miss my New York. It's my second home. But I remember reading Forbes articles, Lynn. I remember reading Forbes articles. I remember watching Forbes short clip content videos. And I remember, I'm not going to lie to you, I know it might sound ridiculous, but like that was the beginning for me of like, wait a minute, like maybe I can go do that, or maybe I should like start to think about what types of stories I want to tell, or what type of people I want to go like interview and learn from, and listen to, and figure out how the hell they did their whole journey. So you're right, like it's like almost like a full circle thing of like you're doing all of it. So I think it's so neat. Let's spend some time talking about your team. Can you spend a couple minutes talking about your team at Forbes and maybe some of the different roles or some of the different focus areas or some of the different guys and gals that you got doing all the magic every single slot?
All right. So we are lean and mean at Forbes. Everyone sees big brand, huge business. Huge brand, global influence, lean and mean as far as the operations
Nothing wrong with that,
of what we do. It's actually a fabulous way to work because it allows us to be as entrepreneurial as the stories that we write. So if we were a huge bureaucratic behemoth, we wouldn't be able to get done all of the things we want to do in service of all our different audiences. Right now, I'm running our consumer businesses, which has several different components. Our print publication, we still publish 6 times a year. It's a beautiful book. I hope you're all subscribing to it. People keep it on their coffee tables, keep it for longer than the next issue coming out. And it really has become a stalwart of see and be seen. And being on the cover of Forbes is still one of the highest forms of recognition.
I want to be Forbes someday. You're going to have to help me out after
I'd love to be on the cover of Forbes someday, but it won't happen, especially with me working there. I'm also responsible for our digital subscriptions or membership business. Forbes launched a paywall in November of 2020, experimented with it through that year, 2021, 2022, and 2023. We made a huge commitment to grow our memberships or digital subscriptions. We are on a great trajectory for that part of the business. Our content is premium. We have some content that is behind a hard paywall, and then we have other content that's more accessible and not hard gated, so that people can respond and enjoy and get the inspiration without always having to pay for access to
question, Lynn. Was it because of like during COVID when so many of us were stuck at home? We were working at home. We were working in our home offices. Was that when there was just a prime opportunity? Because like you didn't have some of the luxuries of, let's just call it pre-COVID world, where you get to go to the conference once a month, or you had the offsite meeting, or you got to go to the office every damn day with your other smart coworkers. Was that kind of where the opportunity rose, where like so many of us were still looking for new news sources, new information, new ways of thinking about that period of time? Where
the plans were actually in place before COVID happened. The timing just aligned that we were prepared to launch in November of 2020. And we did pivot much of the business then, particularly our Forbes Live business. We run more than 100 live in-person events a year, some about a dozen huge tentpole events, like our 30 Under 30 Summit, which is in Ohio again this year, and our Forbes Women's Summit and 50-30 recently in Abu Dhabi. So those type of experiences had to change, and they became digital or virtual events, still with sponsors, still with a lot of the same experiences. And what was wonderful about that is instead of getting 200 or 300 people in a room, we could reach 10,000 people.
100%. There's like the network effect, the
virtually.
Arena effect.
So there was something really beautiful about the quick pivot to that. In addition, I run our investing newsletter businesses. People want information from Forbes that helps them invest, helps them prepare for their future, helps them set up generational wealth. We have a portfolio of about a dozen investing newsletters that people pay for that deliver that type of content, sometimes daily, sometimes weekly, depending on which of the publications people are involved with. That business has been around a really long time, and we're still seeing growth in it because people are hungry for information from people or from media organizations that they trust.
Totally
and
agree.
Forbes has that
you're
trust
gonna appreciate
factor.
this. I remember being a kid and my parents would give the Forbes magazine, like the old school magazine. And I remember me and my brother would literally be going through the list, the Forbes list, and number one joking about when and where and how we were going to end up on it. Full candor. That's still got some work to do there.
It's okay. We want to inspire everybody to make one of our fabulous lists.
But that's what it was. It was inspiring. And then also for people that are super successful and hungry and ambitious and they want to learn and they've got this insatiable appetite just for like, how have other people gotten to where I want to go? That's one of the one of the most brilliant things Forbes has always done is they've showed these different paths.
Correct.
There's these constant examples. There's validation, credibility around the different people. The lists literally move up and down, so you see. I mean, that's part of why you guys have been a global changing type of business.
We want to inspire the success, whatever success means for people. Success can mean something very different for you than it does for me or for our other folks here in the room with us today. And we want to provide information and education for everybody, and certainly on a global basis. The other part of the business that I look after is our free editorial newsletters, which is what makes Forbes so accessible to so many people. We have a portfolio of free newsletters. They are editorially driven. They are not marketing driven. Yes, there are sponsors and ads in them. The Daily is our flagship. We've reached over, we have more than 1 million daily subscribers to that, which is incredible. And what that allows us to do is communicate and make our journalism, our articles, super accessible to the masses so that they can scroll through in the morning, make sure they're not missing anything before they open up their laptops for their day or when they're on their commute, since a lot of people are back in the office now, to keep them informed and make sure that they have the tools that they need to be successful in whatever they want to be successful in.
I love that. I remember during my New York City life, I remember literally there was a handful of morning reads that before I would even walk out of the apartment to get on the subway, I would get my quick and dirty reads just to make sure I didn't sound like a total dum-dum when I walked to the office. But there's things that are happening so frequently in this world that it is super easy to miss big news stories or big events or big things. So being able to be in a position where you're providing some of that information or that know-how or that just general intelligence to folks, that's super, super, I don't know, just a special place to be. And that's a hard job. That's a hard thing to be serving to the masses on a regular basis.
Yeah, we have an incredible editorial team. They work every day to bring us the stories, to do the groundbreaking journalism, to do the research, to uncover what is making people successful. How are their paths different? How can that different path maybe spark an idea in someone else that can help them on a different kind of journey?
I love that. Lynn, I'd love to talk a little bit about just kind of tools and technology and only share what you're able to share. But we're here at Customer Contact Week this week in Vegas and Caesars Forum. We've got all these incredible vendors and all these wild software companies and all this crazy stuff going on, frankly. And AI is just AI is clearly the main attendee at this event because everybody's talking about it. But I'd love, even if at a high level, if you could just talk a little bit about sort of with your team, either some of the technology or some of the different things that you're excited to be learning about here this week at Customer Contact Week. I'd love to just kind of hear how you're sort of thinking about tools and technology in today's world.
In this day and age, I think the most important thing any team can have is a strong foundation, and that foundation, from my perspective, is built on the technology and the data running through that technology. That foundation needs to be scalable, so as your business grows and changes, you add new products and services. That foundation doesn't get lost. That foundation can remain intact, and by building more into it. One of my primary roles when I first got to Forbes was to reimagine the data and technology stack for sales and marketing on the advertising side. And we did that. We created a full stack through some very well-known brand name partners who are actually here that allowed the sellers to do what they needed to do, to track the deals, the marketers to market, the email marketing primarily, allowing the sellers to see what the marketers were doing, and then really watching the pipeline develop, the leads flow through, and then being able to pinpoint what deals were influenced by marketing. So marketing influenced revenue became a big part of our internal conversations on that side of the house. Then as we started to look at other parts of the business where we could add value, we started to think about all of the other marketers across Forbes. We have a very decentralized marketing organization, and each product essentially has its own marketer or marketing team. So we brought all of that information together. We have 3 ESPs, email service providers, which is a lot for our business. Brought all that information together through a customer data platform that makes it available in a compliant way for each of the marketing teams.
Love it. Okay.
So rather than having one record sit in only one place,
Yep.
now that information's attached and corroborated,
Yeah.
and now each of the marketers across the business can, using the right message at the right time, communicate with the right customer or
Awesome.
prospect.
Awesome.
So it's changed a lot of how we do business and marketing at Forbes, but under the mission of creating a more seamless customer experience across the business.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that I'm not marketing to a potential advertiser a paid subscription
Yeah.
at the same time. We really think about, okay, what is best for that person at that time,
Yep.
and what is, of course, right for the business.
I love it. You know what? Hearing you say that makes me just think there's a couple things. Number one is like, so we talk about it a lot on the show, Lynn, but like, that is why customer journey mapping, or being able to map out and literally plot out the very beginning of the journey to the very end of the journey, is imperative, right? It's like, because you don't know when you're going to be stepping on toes of either your internal teammates, or for some of our friends out there that are building businesses that have really complex things. So it's not just one customer set. Maybe there's multiple segments. Maybe you've got customers, advertisers, marketers, you've got the whole 9 yards. You don't lay that stuff out, and if you don't kind of plot it out in a way that people can visualize it and see it, it's hard to sort of draw lines in the sand. And I know we're here at CXCW or CCW, so we're all about like collaborating and using CX and EX collab, but like part of it is just kind of knowing where your lanes are and knowing sort of where one team or department or role kind of ends and where the next one picks up. And then I think there's something about just like being able to, then when you start to talk about all the technology investments that a company like Forbes has to make, having a chance to see how that stuff lays out across it too is like really, really important. And there's so many companies out there that almost go about building their tech stack without a super keen understanding of sort of what the customer journey is, or what all the different internal facets or areas of ownership look like. And I just don't know. I think we're living in a day and age where like, if you could sort some of those puzzle pieces out a little bit sooner, a little bit earlier with some really smart folks and SMEs inside of your business, you can make excellent bets on what type of software or what type of service solutions you need to be able to provide the conduit or to provide the infrastructure that your business needs to be able to be successful and sustainable.
It is, and it's hard to do, especially with a legacy organization like Forbes, because when I got there, so many of the systems and processes and people were already in place, right? So when I approached this, and even at organizations prior to Forbes, there's two primary things I start with. One is how does our company make money, right? How do we derive revenue that keeps the lights on? But then I think as important is, how do our customers drive revenue, right? Who are their customers and prospects? How can we help them be more successful in their businesses? Because if we are operating, yes, through the lens of our revenue stream, number one, but in parallel to that, how our customers are going to be successful, a couple things are going to happen. One, we're going to be better partners to our advertisers, our consumers, our event attendees, because we're going to know what they need and have a sense of perhaps when they need that, so we can help get them to what's successful for them.
Love that. Yep.
And if you don't know where your own revenue's coming from, you really need to probably start from scratch and rethink some of your life choices.
Yeah, you gotta dig deep there and kind of do some self-reflection. Lynn, I'd love to pick your brain on process.
Sure.
And let me give you a couple of examples. But like again, we're walking the expo hall the other day. You see technology piece after technology piece. You see all these service providers. There's all these BPOs. There's some agencies here. There's all this stuff going on. And where my brain goes is like, man, okay, if I'm Lynn and I'm running customer experience at Forbes, how do you think about wrangling all of that tribal knowledge? How do you think about, and maybe not just Lynn, but how do you empower some of your key people to think about how they can really kind of curate playbooks or living knowledge, continue to do the controlling or the monitoring of the knowledge? Like, I'd love to just kind of hear you spend a few minutes thinking about how you've kind of gone about working with your team to wrangle a process as in the last 5.5 years at Forbes.
Well, I like to think of myself almost as a conductor with subject matter experts in all the different disciplines or areas of the business that I'm responsible for. I cannot be an expert in 5 or 6 different parts of the business.
Totally fair.
I appreciate and am thrilled to have an incredible team
Yep.
that are subject matter experts in all of the things that they're leading.
Yeah.
And my goal is to help break down barriers, remove roadblocks, and connect the dots. Because we are a legacy business, there's lots of different parts of the company. There's lots of people doing things that the broader group doesn't always know.
Yeah.
But since I've been there a while, I can start making those connections that will help not only my particular teams, but other teams across the business. And
Love
I
it.
think that teamwork and the breaking down of silos and the integration of success across multiple business units is great for everybody and
100%.
certainly good for the bottom line.
I totally agree. If there's like one like golden nugget of wisdom or one idea that you could leave with our listeners, has there been like one type of meeting or one type of all hands or one type of community, like when you talked about different business units coming together to collaborate to kick ass, has there been like one like example or one story that you've seen that you're like, that is exactly what I'm talking about, and if we can do more of that type of team collaboration, team just co-education, has there been any like one example that you've seen it like you want to share with our listeners that has been really impressive or that you've just been kind of taken by?
Absolutely. Last year we went through a technology migration for some of our services, and took a little bit of manpower, a lot of manpower, let's be honest, to get past the bumps of an integration.
This stuff's hard. It's hard to make changes.
It was a big one. It was a doozy.
Yeah.
But we are absolutely on the other end of it. And through that process and some of the growing pains and getting used to a new way of doing things, a couple of our internal business partners said, hey, we don't always know what's going on, where in your campaigns are, the why behind the things you're doing. So what we decided to do was a monthly meeting with all of our internal business partners. So it's open to anybody.
Love it.
So product engineering, BI, marketing and sales operations, and we go through what all of our KPIs, what the campaigns were. Did they work? Didn't they work? What do we want to see more of? And then what's on deck, so that the folks who are helping us, giving us the tools that we need to drive the revenue, so that they are in the loop and have a shared ownership in the success. And what I have found that is it's been a terrific place to share wins that might have only been shared in our small group. So they become bigger wins because more people know about what's happened. But also the best part of it is that it's become a place for brainstorming and problem solving. And if you don't have those conversations and you're just having conversations within your small groups, you don't benefit from the incredible manpower that is in other parts of the organization. We all come to our jobs with different contexts and different learnings and different skills and experiences, and all of those can really add up to something magical when the information is shared and celebrated.
I love that, Lynn. I think that's brilliant. And what it makes me think about is like one of the biggest, in my career anyway, up to this point, one of the biggest gains and one of the biggest value adds that I think that any company on planet Earth gain by investing in customer experience and employee experience, it's what you just said. It's that breaking things down. It's like building a taxonomy of all the different buckets of thought. It's maybe even like normalizing language, because let's call it what it is. Our finance friends talk a whole hell of a lot different than us customer folks, and then our product folks and our engineering folks, they might need additional context to be able to take something that Lynn and Adrian look at and we're like, how do you not see how we need product to fix this right now? This is right in front of us. And they might need additional context or just general storytelling to even understand the why. So like, this is one of the biggest parts of what customer focused business leaders add to a business. It's breaking down some of those walls, some of those silos. It's computing or just normalizing language, and it's making people kind of be able to do that collaborative work that you're talking about. I love that you guys are already doing that at Forbes, and it's awesome that you guys are doing a monthly type of place where you are, and then you have time to prep all month. You can, each team, each leader, each department could be thinking about, what are the wins? What are the losses? What are the struggles? And what are we going to bring up this month? We could try to rile some people up, or maybe get a little bit more support if we need it.
Right. It's a good chance to socialize the things that might be in the back of our minds and haven't quite made it to the top of the roadmap. But it's also a chance to recognize everybody's good. We can't do what we do without our internal partners. I mean, full stop. If our technology platforms aren't working, if our checkout's not working, then we can't sell subscriptions. So we need everybody to be on the same page, and we want everybody to feel a sense of ownership and pride in the work that we're that
I
we're
love
doing.
it. This is why I always tell people, everybody works in CX, they just don't know it. They
Well,
just
there is that, like everybody works in sales, right?
Same thing.
It's the same.
Everybody's- yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And on the customer support side, that's another area of the business where we are a couple of years into the path of trying to bring in all the different pockets of customer support for each of the siloed business units into one framework.
Okay.
And that's been terrific. And one of our, the gentleman who leads our editorial around marketing recently posted, marketing should own customer support, and we're like, yes, we're already doing that. We're trying to bring that in from across the business, and just like our advertisers want a seamless experience, we want those folks who want to contact with us, who may not have or might have a question, to have a great experience with us as well.
I love that. Lynn, I'd love to slide into the fourth and the final pillar of feedback. Can you just spend a couple minutes kind of talking about maybe one example of some of the ways that you're collecting, leveraging, and acting upon customer feedback of Forbes, and then maybe one example around the same thing on the employee experience side, ways that you're acting, leveraging, and acting upon your employee feedback.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to leave the employee stuff to my HR partners, but we do pulse surveys throughout the organization, and then one big annual survey throughout the company, and then different departments, including ours and the digital team, I think we do them quarterly on our end, which is great.
Very good.
On the customer side, which is a passion point of mine, we did a huge two-part customer research project last year that took us from February through September.
Wow.
We did a qualitative component of customers and different kinds of customers, both on the consumer side and then a qualitative component. And what really came through there is people love the Forbes brand, super strong. People want more investing content, which is why our investing newsletters are so successful. But they also want a unified experience. And this is something that we're working towards, where if you are a Forbes subscriber, they want to be a subscriber of the print magazine and the digital properties and everything else. They want one pass that gives them access to everything. And we are working towards that.
Love it.
And that's why our alignment with our product and engineering teams is so key to the success and delivering a gold standard customer experience.
That's amazing, Lynn. Thank you for sharing that. So then, Lynn, before I let you go, first of all, this is amazing. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us on the CX Chronicles podcast. I was pumped to have you here today, and I was pumped to kind of learn about some of the ways you guys are thinking about this stuff at Forbes. But before I let you go, where can people get in touch with you or your team, and where can people go find out more about Forbes?
All right. Well, Forbes.com is your gateway to everything, not only those of us at Forbes, but to all of the content you need to inspire your own success story. And certainly through any of our help and chat opportunities, we'll get you to the right person who can answer any of your questions.
I love it. Well, Lynn, thank you so much for joining the CXC. It's been our absolute pleasure having you on the show, and you enjoy the rest of Customer Contact Week here in Las Vegas.
Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.